The purpose of Title I is to ensure that all children have a fair, equal, and significant opportunity to obtain a high-quality education and reach, at a minimum, proficiency on challenging state academic achievement standards and state academic assessments. We would like to direct you to our website with all of its resources. But I want a disclaimer here because the website is ever-changing and the links often are broken. So please contact us if you're having a difficult time finding a resource. We try to put all resources. For instance, this recording will go onto the website. The Nevada Department of Education website contains all Title I Part A, Improving the Academic Achievement of the Disadvantaged, all parts of Title I Part C, Migrant and Bilingual Education, and also Title I Part D, Neglected, Delinquent, and At-Risk Youth. You can also find all of the latest Nevada legislation, and all grants applications are posted. To find Title I, you would go to the main page, the doe.nv.gov, and that's the Nevada website, and you go to school districts, and then under the drop-down, go to programs. Once you click programs, you'll find a new grid with the Title I. So click on Title I, and that's how you reach our home page. So underneath title, all titles are under here on the home page, but then we are Part 1. We're going to talk about Part 1 today. Part A, sorry, Title I, Part A. And so if you click on that, and let's say, for instance, you're being monitored on site this year, and so you're interested in seeing what kind of documents there are for monitoring. So you click on the monitoring, and then it goes to on-site monitoring. It's all monitoring, but here's the on-site part, and you're thinking that you would like to preview the questions ahead of time for the focus groups. So then you would click on the focus group interview question examples, and then all interview questions are posted here. And this is something that frequently links are broken, but we can easily fix that. So here, if you wanted the teacher questions when we come out to interview your teachers, here's the list of questions, the actual document that you can print out.
Does anyone have any questions about that? I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Anybody have questions on the website?
I'm good to go.
Okay. All right, please explore. And it is ever changing, but it's a lot better than it used to be. So hopefully it's useful. All right, now we're going to get into the Title I requirements, the district consolidated plan, the fiscal requirements, maintenance of effort, comparability, supplement, not supplant. And this is just the high overview for everything. The District Consolidated Plan. Local Education Agency, the LEA, may receive a subgrant under this part for any fiscal year only if such agency has on file with the state agency approved by the SEA that is coordinated with other programs. And under this act, it would be coordinated with IDEA, the Carls Perkins Vocational Technical Education Act, McKinney-Vento, and many others. So all of this is your consolidated plan embedded within eNote and ePage. The fiscal requirements. To ensure that funds made available under Title I Part A of the ESEA are used to provide services that are in addition to the regular services normally provided by an LEA for participating children, there are 3 fiscal requirements related to the state and local funds. The first one is maintenance of effort. The second one is your comparability. And the final one is supplement, not supplant. So I'll go into detail on the next slide. Maintenance of effort. At the school district level, the maintenance of effort provision requires that an LEA maintain its expenditures for public education from state and local funds from one year to the next. Thus, an LEA cannot reduce its own spending for public education and replace those funds with federal funds. We call it the MOE. The NDE Fiscal Office determines if LEAs meet the MOE. And by the way, it's not us, and I can give you the name of the person if you ever have issues with your MOE or wondering where it is. Someone else develops that spreadsheet. So there are two methods to determine if a district meets MOE. The most favorable method for the district is used. So they really don't try to get you, they try to help you. Results are typically shared in the late winter or early spring. And most of the time they go directly to the districts, but I also send them out along with the Title I updates. So if district does not meet the MOE, then Title I funds are reduced by the exact portion of funds it failed to maintain MOE. And since I've been working here going on 3 years now, only one district one time has lost money, and I think it was $7,000, so it wasn't huge, but they did not meet their MOE. Do we have any questions on this? Is that a no?
Can you hear us?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have a question?
No, just want to make sure we're there.
Okay.
Oh, Cherry just joined us.
Oh,
Hi, Cherry.
Hi.
Hi, I'm here with Sharon Dirks.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
Cherry, we were just saying that we're muting in between so that we don't have feedback. If you have a question, you can use the chat box or wait till Gail pauses. Okay?
Perfect.
Great, thanks.
All right, now I'll move out to the next fiscal requirement. It's comparability. At the school building level, comparability requires an LEA to ensure that each Title I school receives its fair share of resources from state and local funds. In other words, the LEA may not discriminate, either intentionally or unintentionally, against its Title I schools when distributing resources funded from state and local sources simply because the school receives federal funds. Equitable distribution. In December, districts will receive an email from the state Title I director reminding them of this requirement. Two recommended methods for calculating MOE will be highlighted in the email. Upload into eNote. Districts must demonstrate comparability each year, but the NDE Fiscal Office will verify every other year.
So just to this is Christina, just to tag on what Gail mentioned, the fiscal office is only going to verify the comparability every other year, but from a monitoring perspective, you still need to show proof of evidence that from the district's level, you're still keeping track of that.
So, and the only exceptions for comparability are you do not need to do it if your Title I school has under 100 students or if there is only one school at each grade span. A letter indicating one of these exceptions must be uploaded into eNote. Questions? Any questions?
Unless you have a question.
Is that a question or conversation?
No, we were conversating.
Conversating? All right.
It's my big word, conversating.
Good word.
All right, we'll move on to supplement, not supplant. At the individual student level, an LEA must ensure that services to students participating in Title I receive from Part A funds are additional to the regular services an LEA would otherwise provide to those students from funds from non-federal sources. That is, services from Title I resources cannot replace or supplement services that an LEA would ordinarily provide to its students. The LEA must use Title I funds only to supplement and, to the extent practical, increase the level of funds that would, in the absence of Title I funds, be made available from non-federal sources from the education of students participating in the Title I programs. In no case may Title I funds be used to supplement. So on our website, there's actually new definition of or not definition, but an explanation of the law. So what it's saying now, because everyone was interpreting it the way I always have, but now they're saying that supplement, not supplant requirement in the ESEA section 1120 capital A little b does not apply to school-wide programs. And the school does not need to demonstrate that Title I funds are used for only activities that supplement those schools that would otherwise be provided with non-federal funds. So that's kind of a big shock to all of us. This letter came out July 30th, and it is posted on the website. There's also two documents that interpret that letter. One is supplement, not supplant, school-wide, and the other one is for targeted. So most schools in Nevada are not targeted. They're school-wide, so we don't have a lot to worry about. Are there any questions on this?
Yeah, go ahead, ask her.
So is that saying that we can only use Title I funds for programs that we would normally have? So, for example, I don't know, like an after-school program. I don't know. I mean, I'm new to this, so I'm not sure.
Well, your school is school-wide.
Right.
So all the funds blend together. As long as you're getting equitable distribution of funds from your district, then the funds start blending together. They're consolidated, and so you can use your funds how you see fit.
Okay, all right.
And the other thing is because there's two schools that do the same thing.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So the next slide is about the updated, is the equitable distribution of funds. So just to make that clear, Title I schools must receive their equal portion of all non-federal funds. Equitable distribution on non-federal funds may be allocated in multiple ways, including the characteristics of students, either low income or English language learners, or based on staffing and supplies. Now, the person that figures out your budgets probably knows about this. This is really high level, what I'm telling you right now. But just so you understand that as long as you get your base money, the title funds are on top of it. All right, we'll move on to eligible schools. The LEA may designate as eligible any school attendance area or school in which at least 35% of the children are from low-income families. The LEA may use funds in a school if the percent of the children from low-income families enrolled in the school is equal to or greater than the percent of such children in the LEA. So most of your Title I schools are designated this way, and I don't think we've ever have had an issue with somebody who shouldn't be a title school and they're saying they should be. So do you have a question? You're answering it.
So just thank you, Holly, for using the chat function for that follow-up question. She wanted to know where that letter that you had talked about for the supplements, the plant pieces. So we'll send that link to everyone, that direct link, so that you kind of see where it is on the Title I website as part of the post communication to this webinar. Does that sound like a plan?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
There is a whole section on the website called guidance, and they put it there, but we were asking to have it put in multiple places, so we'll get back to you with that link. All right, Title I rank order. Annually rank without regard to grade spans schools from highest to lowest according to the percent of children from low-income families. Schools that exceed 75% poverty must be served in rank order. And actually, when it says above, it means 75.1. If it's 75%, you don't have to. So it has to be above. Serve remaining eligible schools either within the grade span grouping or within the LEA as a whole rank order. Now, this is the part where we have never had an issue across the state with serving school-wide or targeted. It's much easier to be school-wide, to be a title school. To be a school-wide school, you have to have 40% poverty or higher. A school-wide program shall use funds to supplement the amount of funds made available from non-federal sources for the school. And it's required school-wide components addressed in the Title I page on the school performance plan. So as you know, in the school performance plan, there's about 5 or 6 components that you have to answer. So if you're a title school, you already know what I'm talking about. Targeted assisted schools is a 35% poverty or higher. Use funds only for eligible students identified as having the greatest need for special assistance. The eligible population, children not older than 21 or grade 12 and who are not yet at grade level. Not at grade level based on multiple educational related objective criteria established by the LEA and supplemented by the school. That's just a straight definition of targeted assistance. Questions? Do we have any questions on that? I think because I didn't go into great detail on the next slide for the school performance plan because everybody, all title schools are required to have them. And so I just wanted to throw it in there that school performance plans are still a requirement. Another requirement is the annual Title I meeting. Schools must conduct meetings annually with parents to provide them with information and background on the school's Title I program. And there's stipulations to those meetings. They need to be flexible. Transportation needs to be provided. Childcare or even home visits can apply.
Any questions about this requirement? Or had any of you already held your Title I meeting with school starting?
Depends on the year.
Did we already hold this one?
One of us had. No questions.
Okay.
Cherry out in Lincoln, don't you do like a family barbecue and then just pass out all the information? You still do that?
We do, and then we hold one we hold 3 of them a year. But the first one, kind of sets up what's expected of the year and get all the paperwork out. It kind of saves time.
Dutch oven dinner.
Yeah, it is a Dutch oven dinner. Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Anyone else out there have some best practices to share as far as how you hold your meetings, your Title I meetings? Have you done it already?
Tie it to activities. This is Cherry again. We tie our third one to our science fair and art fair. So, you got parents there. Just have them come an hour, half hour earlier and
Or stay a half hour.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, good ideas. All right, we'll move on.
Perfect. All right, another requirement is the parent involvement policy, the PIP. All schools and districts receiving Title I funds must jointly develop or revise a PIP with parents. Recommend PIPs are revised annually. That's something that you can do at your back to school night and your Title I meeting. Parent compacts. Educational involvement accords is a state requirement that may also fulfill the federal parent compact requirement, and these need to be reviewed and revised annually. There's also samples in eNote we've provided them, but most schools just revise them.
Yeah, so those of you who are new, if you want to see like a template example, it's best to go into eNote for the monitoring instruments. I believe we look at PIPs in the fall, if I'm remembering how those items are. And once you open up, you can actually even look up last year's instrument, since we haven't actually launched this year's instrument yet. But you can look at what was submitted for your district, as well as under that resource tab for that parent involvement item, you can get some templates as needed if you want to review those. Any questions?
How often are we required to hold a parent compact meeting? Once a year, twice a year?
Just once.
Okay.
Annual.
All right.
Good question.
And a lot of times people review the parent compacts at their parent conference night, individually with the parents.
Okay. All right.
And just a kind of follow up, when you submit those parent involvement plans to the NDE as proof of evidence, we do request that you direct to what paragraphs the certain requirements of that PIP are, and that's on that template too. So that might, looking backwards, what we're looking for might help guide you to creating the letters, if that makes sense.
There's also a parent notification letter that needs to go out, and there's certain things that are required in the letter. You have to tell your parents what your STAR classification is. If you are a focus school, or the names of your focus schools and their STAR classifications. They have to have a letter that is called the Parents' Right to Know, the qualifications of the teacher and the parapros. That needs to go out. And your students also need to be taught by non-highly qualified, or if they are taught by a non-highly qualified staff, they need to be notified. So highly qualified teachers, each LEA shall ensure that all teachers teaching in a program supported with funds under this part are highly qualified. The parapros, each LEA shall ensure that all paraprofessionals working in the program supported with funds under this part shall, at a minimum, have completed at least 48 units from an accredited university, obtained an AA degree or higher, or pass a rigorous test, the ETS Parapro test, with a passing score of 460. Are there any questions on this one?
Any questions about the highly qualified requirements?
Nope.
Okay, move it on.
All right, time and effort reporting. I think we've trained our districts over the last few years to actually fill out their time and effort reporting correctly. And the biggest item that we find is that it is a flexible date. So let's say you're doing a semi-annual report certification, and you have them sign it from August 1st to December 31st. And then the second one, and usually they do this one correctly, but the second one you'll say is from January 1st to July 31st, or whatever the dates are, because you're trying to match up those dates. And then your school's over in May, and so they sign it in May. Well, all you have to do is change the dates on the semi-annual certificate to make sure it's before they sign it, because your school's out. So it doesn't have to be a 6-month reporting. And the time and effort part of it is always make sure it's after the fact, so they do their work and then it's signed. Are there any questions on that? I think we have samples, and that's a monitoring item. We've been trying to help guide districts over the last few years, and I think everyone has it. So we'll be happy to help if you are having issues. We have samples of time and effort in there too.
Yeah, and I believe that's in the spring monitoring instrument currently.
Yeah. All right, school budgets. It is recommended that schools keep close track of their Title I expenditures. There are sample budgets forms which can be found in the Title I resource guide on the website. And you must keep track of all Title I equipment, which will be reported in ePage and eNote. Sometimes we have issues with that. I remember one time you have to say where the equipment is, and they were talking about laptops, and they said it was found in the cart. We need to know what school the laptops are in. So, allowable Title I expenses. Schools may use Title I funds for the following examples, and these are only examples. Staff, parent involvement activities, pre-K programs, before and after schools, instructional support, and professional development. And remember the guidance I told you that for the Supplant, it has a huge section on allowable Title I expenditures. So it broadens that. Now I'll let Christina take over and talk about eNote and ePage.
So eNote, most of you are probably familiar with both of these tools, but we'll just do a quick high level over there. But I did want to show you that we do have some support out there on our website that can be located from the Title I homepage that Gail kind of showed you a screenshot earlier. Currently, we have more of our underperforming instruments up for this year. We're expecting that we'll have the fall monitoring for Title I to be launched here within the next couple of weeks. So Gail will send out a communication with her monthly updates to let you all know, because I know many of you probably want to start getting on top of those compliance items. The December monitoring instrument is generally due at the end of the year, December 31st. So on the website, you can have direct access to eNote. A new feature that we tried to pilot this last year, which has been very helpful. And from the district perspective, or all the coordinators are usually attached to the Title I instrument. But if, let's say, you have an admin that you'd like to have help you upload documents, there's this generic eNote. How to add an LEA submitter to eNote tracker. Do you see that third blue hyperlink under eNote tracker on the screenshot? You can actually pull down that job aid and identify additional people from the LEA perspective to help assist, and that way it kind of keeps us out of it and lets you tops for an instrument. But that might be helpful to get the work that you need to get done, and that way it doesn't always lie on one person. There's also a generic eNote tracker LEA navigational step. So if you just need to understand basic navigation of eNote, you can download that. That's that second bullet, as well as the eNote Tracker Monitoring User Guide, which is everything you'd ever want to know about eNote, but you probably won't use everything. But if you want to really have the very detailed guide, there's that top link as well. Then, of course, so that's for our compliance, our desktop monitoring, the eNote Tracker. We also use it for the on-site monitoring that Gail briefly mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, as far as to put our on-site report and other compliance items. For our fiscal perspective, so your consolidated application, of course, you're going to use ePage. And we do have a training manual flip book if you need help with navigation for that system as well. So let me move on. So, I'm not going to go through the definitions, but what we can go a brief overview of ePage first. Again, our electronic grants management system for your consolidated, as well as your other federal grants, as well as other grants that you might have, like 10038, 21st Century, all those other state and federal grants that you might be awarded to. So here's a screenshot of the ePage funding application. You can see the entitlement funding would be up in the top section of this screenshot, and then you have your competitive funding applications here. There's kind of two main components that we look at when we review from a Title I EPP perspective, and we need to make sure that what is been allocated from the district side is allowable, and as well as matching from a budget perspective. We look at two kind of areas. We take the set-aside page. So those are the set-asides that you might put from your district. For example, if you didn't have highly qualified teachers currently and you've created a plan, you would want to put some funding to help get those teachers so that they are highly qualified, whether it's like paying for their praxis tests or a parapro to help take the ETS test that they have to take, right? So these are all the different set-asides that you might have. We take that along with the building sites, which is kind of the school site budgets that you have, and those should be combined should make your total Title I allocation. So what we've noticed is sometimes, occasionally, especially with initial applications, is sometimes those don't always match, and they should be kind of broken down into your supplemental schedule. So we're going to see what that looks like too. Here's the per pupil amount. So this is I believe one of the first tasks that you do on your side, or part of the task on your side is kind of determining the different per pupil allocations for each of the school sites. And we're trying to always get this remaining field that you see at the bottom of that table. We try to zero that out. Sometimes if it's a little bit off by a few cents, we'll be like, that's okay. But the per pupil amount, as you can see, the average for this would be $530.47. Let me unmute right now and see if there's any questions about this initial steps in ePage, because I know many of you are probably have either submitted your initial apps or are in the process of finishing them up, hopefully, and submitting them. Any questions? Okay. School eligibility, you're probably familiar with this page as well. You know, listing all the different schools that are in your district, as well as which ones will be getting services, and all the details that are requested. And then we have that, so that's the fiscal part. And then we have eNote, which is more the compliance monitoring instrument, again, which is online, or we call it desktop monitoring. So desktop monitoring occurs 3 out of every 4 years, and then every 4th year we tend to do an on-site monitoring visit. So I believe there's about 4 districts that are targeted for on-site monitoring this year. Again, you can see if your district is up for on-site monitoring, or if you'd like to see what year your district is up for on-site monitoring, you can see that on the monitoring link on our NDE website from our Title I homepage.
And we do our desktop monitoring in the fall and spring.
Correct. And on-site monitoring usually occurs in early to mid-spring. So the eNote monitoring, here's an example screenshot of some of the items that we look at the highest category level: eligibility, use of funds, fiscal requirements, the district plan and report card, parent involvement, pre-K, etc. And those can be drilled down into, I think most of you are probably familiar with this. Any questions on ePage or eNote basic functionality at the highest level? Or what the purpose is? If you need technical assistance, you can definitely reach out to any of the your assigned Title I EPP for your district. That would be either Gail, myself, or Matt Smith. From an ePage perspective, if it's functionality, you would want to reach out to Wendy Wyatt. She's kind of the ePage queen as far as the system access stuff. Of course, if you're having additional problems, you can reach out to your EPP too. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Gail, and she's going to talk a little bit about the NSPF.
All right, the Nevada School Performance Framework. You should have your new classification on the website. It just was released September 15th. You probably already knew what your STAR classification was, because it's the same as it was last year. And They're still in the process of figuring out if it will be the same for 2 years because of the crash of all the testing. But we'll worry about that when the time comes. So the Nevada Education Performance System requires that the NDE to use the Nevada School Performance Framework, NSPF, for classifying school performance using such measures as student proficiency, student growth data, and gap reduction data. And under the system, each school's designation is based on a 5-star classification. The star classification of 5-star is among the highest performing schools in Nevada with high student proficiency and or student growth. A 4-star school is among the higher performing schools in proficiency and student growth. The 3-star has some areas of success as well as areas that they need to improve in, and both again under proficiency and growth. A 2-star school is a school that has room for improvement in whole school proficiency and growth. And a 1-star school is a school that has room for substantial improvement in whole school proficiency and growth. The reward schools are among the highest performing schools in Nevada in student proficiency and or student growth on state assessments. And there's different categories under the reward schools. There's high performing, high progress, and exemplary. But I'll let you read that. And then we go into our focus schools. A focus school at the elementary or middle school level has substantial room for improvement in the areas of student achievement with the specific subgroups such as students with disabilities, English learners, and low-income students. It is a title school that is among the lowest performing schools statewide based on the NSPF index points for the subgroup calculations for adequate growth, AGP, in reading and math. Focus school for a high school is a Title I school that has substantial room for improvement, proficiency, and graduation rates with specific focus on students with disabilities, English learners, and low-income students. And they are among the lowest performing high schools based on the NSPF for their subgroups calculated for graduation and proficiency in reading and math. The focus schools are basically the bottom 10%. And then we're moving into the priority, which are the lowest 5%. So priority school is a Title I school that has room for substantial improvement in whole school proficiency and growth. Intensive district and community assistance will provide this school with support necessary for improvement. Identified priority schools are among the lowest achieving Title I schools based upon whole school proficiency and growth over a number of years. And like I said, your new designation, I'm sure all of you have already received it before it goes up on the website, but the website is current now. So,
yeah, I know, but it's just supposed to bring it to me.
Are there any questions?
No questions, but I thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Oh, you're welcome, Kimmy.
oh, she probably had it all together, didn't she? No, there was no transportation.
So I think if there's no questions, does anyone else have any questions? If not, Gail, myself, and Matt, here's our contact information. We plan on uploading this PowerPoint as well as the recording onto the website. And I believe when we're all done with that, we will put, Gail will do a follow-up email in her communication. And we'll make sure, Holly, to
Yes,
add
honey, help yourself. Fiddle faddle. I ate almost half a box, so you can have the rest if you want.
Wait, we want some fiddle faddles. We're muting you. All right, I think we can sign off now. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Please contact us if you have any additional questions.
Bye, all.